Are you ready? Yeah?
Netflix over the years have gone and done all sorts of interesting shows and specials. Yes, they've done original series of various types, like Stranger Things and Roma, given new life to classic shows like Lost in Space, Voltron, She-Ra, and more, but they've also done takes on real-life issues and transformed them into documentaries. You might know of Making a Murderer, as well as Tiger King. But another one that made a lot of waves when it came out was Don't Fuck with Cats. And after that one came out, a lot of people had questions about the man depicted in it. So allow us to show you who is Luka Magnotta. Don't F with Cats. Netflix true story. Then and now. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Who is Luka Magnotta? So let's get right to the question asked. Who is Luka Magnotta? Because obviously he was someone important enough to go and have a Netflix documentary made of him, right? Well, the answer is that he was an infamous murderer, one who was so wanted by the law that there was a literal international manhunt made to go and get him. But that's the latter part of his story. Let's go to the beginning now. Magnotta was born Eric Kirk Newman to teenage parents in 1982 Toronto. His parents later separated and have offered divergent accounts of his childhood, which says a lot when you think about it. In the book she later co-authored about her son, Magnotta's mother, Anna Yorkin, described his father as a proud Nazi and an abusive husband and spouse. Testifying during his son's trial, his father, who described himself as suffering from schizophrenia, pinned the abuse on Magnotta's mother's family. So right there you have a situation that isn't ideal, as both parents were not only not fond of each other, but were willing to pin what happened via Luka on each other. If you think about it, that kind of makes sense, because who wants to be responsible for creating a killer? Exactly. Later on, Luka's mom remarried, but it wasn't any better. He said her new husband was abusive as well. Homeschooled until his middle school years, Magnotta was reportedly severely bullied when he eventually attended school with other students, and later dropped out before earning his diploma. He spent time in mental hospitals and lived in a group home. During a hospital visit while he was still a teenager, Magnotta said he was experiencing hallucinations and was later diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, a very serious mental condition that can affect people in a variety of ways. And sadly for all involved, it would make Luka a very dangerous man. First, crime. Thankfully, his first official crime was not that of murder, but rather fraud. He misused a credit card from a friend and ended up getting $17,000 charged to said card. Oops. After that, he tried to reinvent himself in various ways, not the least of which was by going and taking a new name, Luka Rocco Magnotta. But sadly, his reinvention didn't end there. Rather, it grew, and it grew much worse. Because by 2010, Luka decided that he would go online and start posting videos of a very disturbing nature. Mainly, he killed cats. 2 by his own hands, and another by showing a snake eating a whole cat. That is an illegal act, and that's actually where Netflix would get the bulk of its story. Because, as the title of the documentary notes, you don't F with cats. To catch a killer. There are a few things that can truly bring the internet together, but one of them is absolutely going and abusing animals and posting videos about it. Sadly, these kinds of videos happen often, but when they do, the internet fights back. In this case, they watched his videos, and then certain sleuths went to work trying to catch the guy and stop his abuse. Which was good, because not only did these videos not stop, they got worse. In 2012, he murdered Lin Jun, a 33-year-old computer engineering student from China, and released video online of himself killing Lin and abusing his corpse. We won't say how, but let's just note that it was incredibly gruesome, vile, and heinous, and that made the search for him grow even more. Magnotta had to go on the run and actually fled to Europe. It was at an internet cafe of all places that he was caught, reading articles about his crimes. Talk about arrogance. In 2014, he was convicted of Lin's murder and sentenced to life in prison. Magnotta will be eligible for parole in 20 years, though if we're being honest, it's very unlikely that he'll actually get that. The internet strikes back. You might honestly wonder just how helpful the internet group was in helping catch Luka. Well, actually quite a lot, because a group of them got together and dissected the videos as best they could and got some key information out of it, including the fact that Luka was from Canada, and that would eventually lead to him fleeing to Europe due to the authorities being on his tail. Then, later after he was caught, Luka insisted he was forced into carrying out these horrific crimes by a man called Emmanuel Manny Lopez, which would change things for sure, but the same internet group called his bluff. They had already discovered that the suspect, Luka, had multiple social media profiles, which he had previously used to share the videos before coming across an account linked to his so-called Manny. One of Luka's aliases was K. Trammell, which, through a quick Google search, led the members of the group to discover Manny was a fictional character in the 1992 movie Basic Instinct. What's more, Sharon Stone's character, Catherine Trammell, gave Luka inspiration for the name of the fake profile, and he also copied a scene from the film itself when killing student Lin Jun. So, based on this evidence from the group, it was clear that everything Luka did was his own doing and not the work of someone forcing him to do other things. What the documentary didn't discuss. When you think about Netflix as a whole, you accept that they're an online platform that needs to bring in viewers, and thus they have a wide range of shows to appeal to all fans. But even in the creation of some of these programs, you can be assured that there are going to be slants, if you will, to make it as entertaining as possible and create chatter, even if that means sacrificing some things as a result. A great example of this was in Tiger King, when they heavily slanted the documentary to be about how Carol Baskin killed her husband, something she was not told about when she was invited to be in the show. As for Don't Fuck with Cats, they also left some key information out and didn't go in depth about other things. For example, while the mental health of Luka Magnotta was a key thing in the actual case, it was only lightly touched upon in the 3-part series. Granted, some say it was because he was such a liar that he couldn't be trusted to say he was one thing or another, but he was officially diagnosed by doctors with certain disorders, so you'd think a documentary would bring that up and dive into it. But they didn't, or at least not at length. Desire for attention. Another thing the documentary only lightly touched on was the fact that Luka had a true craving for attention, to the extent that he would audition for all sorts of shows and even lie about things he'd done to himself, in this case plastic surgery, to try and get onto the shows. And when that didn't work, he went onto the internet and used that to his advantage to gain attention with multiple profiles. Police stated that Magnotta set up at least 70 Facebook pages and 20 websites under different names. Lin Jun. While those may seem like smaller things, a big faux pas in the eyes of many was when the Netflix documentary only barely talked about the human murder that Luka committed of Lin Jun. They detailed certain elements of it, sure, but they didn't talk about his life, the circumstances before his death, and only certain people from his life were brought into the show. And as the title states, it was more about the cat killing than the killing of a human, very much slanting the narrative. Where is Luka right now? Thankfully for all, Luka is still in prison, though one could argue his life is better in there, mainly because in 2017, he decided to go and marry a fellow inmate. No matter what you think about the Netflix series though, it doesn't mask what Luka did. He was and still is a sick man, and one who deserves to be locked up for his crimes, and hopefully he'll remain behind bars until the end of his life. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at Luka Magnotta, and how the Netflix documentary both depicted him, and yet clearly left some things out? Are you amazed by the current situation of Luka Magnotta? And what documentary do you think Netflix might try and make next about people like Magnotta? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.